Are any of you fans of Abbas Kiarostami? The great Iranian director actually wrote this movie that we're going to talk about, a forgotten classic, a movie I couldn't find on DVD. I only found it on streaming. It's The White Balloon. Let's talk about why you should watch The White Balloon or think about watching it, why it's pretty good. Let me review it and analyze it. Coming up next. Now, I gave you the writer of this movie because Kiarostami is famous in the West. Among Western film critics, he's beloved, and for good reason. I really like him a lot, even though I haven't yet talked about him on this channel. He wrote this movie, The White Balloon, but it's actually directed by a first-time director, Jafar Panahi, who's gone on to have a pretty good career. And yet this movie, to me, feels like a Kiarostami movie. It's a documentary, or it feels like a documentary. Really what we should say, it's a movie that simulates a documentary. And it's about a little girl in Tehran, and the Iranian New Year is coming up in just 90 minutes. This movie is shot over the course of real time. That is, it takes 90 minutes for a movie to go, and 90 minutes later at the end of the movie, you get the Iranian New Year. This movie is so wonderfully done. It's presented from the perspective of a 7 or 8-year-old little girl, part of a family. She's the younger sister in the family, and she wants to buy a goldfish for the Iranian New Year. Now, the family has a courtyard with a pond with goldfish in it, and her mother says, just use one of those goldfish. But no, this little girl wants an elaborate sort of dancing goldfish, a goldfish, she says, that dances with its white fins. She wants something beautiful and ornate, and so this goldfish is going to cost a little bit of money, which is why initially her mother says, no, you can't go buy this goldfish. The little girl talks her brother into talking the mother into giving money to the kids to buy the goldfish. And then an amazing scene, it's kind of shocking as a parent to watch this. The little boy is supposed to go out, he's about 10 years old, and buy the goldfish, but the little girl, who's only about 7 or 8 years old, as I said, takes the money and just runs away from the family into the middle of Tehran to go buy a goldfish. It's kind of stunning as a parent. You don't ever want to see your kid disappear into the middle of a big city, and yet that's what happens in this movie. So this movie has a hook to it, which then propels, some of these scenes where the girl wanders around, she ends up losing her money several times, and she tries to find the money, trying to go to several strangers and ask them, can you help me find the money I need to use to buy the goldfish?
خیلی نداری بیاریم من برای یکی بخرم چیزی نیست که خب کجا گم کردی؟ از کدوم بر اومدی؟ از اون مسیری که اومدی برو بگرد تو پیداش کنی خب عزیزم.
Because this movie has a little bit of a hook to it, I think some children will appreciate this movie because it's told so well from a child's perspective. A child obsessed with just getting this one thing done, not worrying about all the possible problems she could run into, such as nasty men on the street. There's a lot of men who are suspect in this movie, and you worry about a 7-year-old girl running into these men. She doesn't worry about that. What she's concerned about is this one thing, having this goldfish. Now, if you're into economics, socioeconomics, politics, this movie will give you a field day. First of all, the hook of the movie is this girl wants to make a transaction, and she's obsessed with that transaction. And in the middle of the movie and through the end of the movie, she loses the 500 toman bill that she needs to buy the goldfish, and she's obsessed with getting it back. She goes to several different business owners and tries to get their help in finding money. It would seem that this movie might be about the Iranian obsession with money. It also might be about the pursuit of the absolutely beautiful, which is this goldfish, at the cost of getting lost in the city, and of course, at the cost of 200 tomans, which is a lot for this family at this time. The movie is also about little girls, or maybe women in general, in Iran or just in Tehran. Really interesting, this movie. You do see the girl's mother as a character, but the father is always in the background. You never see him. You just hear his voice. And there's a threat that he may come out and do something to the girl because, she's lost the money or she needs a goldfish that she shouldn't have or so on. I'm not saying abuse there, but at least the father would be harsh to this girl.
شده با صدای اینا در آوردی؟
Later in the movie, you get this girl running into other men. For example, the snake charmers on the street. There's a wonderful scene where the girl runs into a large group of men. In the middle of them are two snake charmers, and these two snake charmers end up taking the girl's money for the effect of the street show that they're having. Yet another man that the girl runs into is the owner of the store where the goldfish is, and yet another man is a tailor where outside the door the girl has lost the money and she wants this tailor's help.
بابا چی شده بابا؟ چی میخوای؟
پولم افتاده اونجایی که گرگره داره.
کجا این بغل؟
میخواستم برم ماهی بخرم. از مامانم پول گرفته بودم برم ماهی بخرم.
There must be 6 or 7 different male characters in this movie, and that might include also the boys that show up in this movie, particularly the girl's brother. So how does a little girl in Tehranian or Iranian society deal with all the males she's got in her life? I find this movie to be pretty literary then. You know, I've already said it's about economics, it's about politics, it's about aesthetics and beauty, the pursuit of beauty, and it's about male-female relationships all at once in what, to me, is a really nice slice-of-life movie about Tehran. And I always like the fact that Iran has produced such great cinema because it normalizes or humanizes their population for us, particularly for those of us in the United States for 20 or 40 or 50 years have been hearing, you know, terrible things about the Iranian government. But we see these movies and we say, well, the Iranian people, they're not much different than us. I mean, this girl's obsessions and interests and the particular problems in this movie and the people she meets, they all look like people I could have met either as a child or as an adult. I don't think this movie is totally original. You know, Kiarostami made a movie in about 1989, Where is My Friend's House? That has a very similar setup of a boy trying to find something, going off on his own, sort of getting lost. I really love that movie and we'll do a video on it eventually. This movie has a similar setup. You know, the white balloon has the girl going out, getting lost, going out on her own. As well, the consideration of Kiarostami for the last, 7 years, 10 years before this. What's a movie? What's a documentary? What's real life and what's not? How does art simulate reality? These kinds of humongous questions are in this very movie, as well as Kiarostami's prior work. And last, of course, many of you have seen the very famous 1960s French movie, The Red Balloon, where a child loses his balloon. The balloon seems to have a mind of his own. A lot of people know that movie. It's super famous, of course. And then you get this movie clearly riffing in a lot of ways on that older famous French movie, The Red Balloon. But you'll have to see how the white balloon of the title comes into play in this movie. It's really, really well done, I think. So for all those reasons, I would call this movie a forgotten classic. I can't find it on Blu-ray or DVD in the United States, so I just had to stream it on the Criterion channel. Hopefully Criterion or somebody will come out with a Blu-ray of this movie because it deserves to be seen and rewatched. 2 of my kids love this movie. Admittedly, the 13-year-old boy walked out of it. But hey, 2 of my kids survived this movie, actually liked it a lot. So for those reasons, I think some people, some of you and your children, might appreciate The White Balloon. Have you seen this movie? What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments. Please subscribe to my channel for more great movie content. Thank you and have a great day.